In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create this scroll animation in Framer without writing a single line of code. And this video will be slightly different from my other videos. It's not going to be as structured as it usually is, because actually this will be my first time creating this animation. What I usually do is I create the animation first and then record the video and create animation again in the video, so I know what I have to do, where should I click, and I can explain it to you really clearly so I don't run into any issues and stuff like that. But here I want to show you what is it like when you are creating something, when you're running into issues, and how you can solve them, how you can explore different solutions and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a slightly longer video, but I think you can learn a bunch of things from it. My name is Nandi, this is Framer University, and let's get started. So usually the first thing I do is I jump onto my browser and take a look at the animation that I try to recreate. So in this case, this is here, Discover Market, and we're trying to, recreate this animation right here. All of these little, platforms, I like having these nice scroll animation and also changing colors. And we also see different text for each platform. So yeah, usually what I do is I go to inspect mode here in my browser and just try to figure out how they did that. So in this case, if I take a look at this little element here, you'll see that these divs are the different platforms. And if I go and open that div, I can see that there's two pictures. One is a white picture, and then we also have another one which is colored. So yeah, they basically have two images for each platform, and they show and hide the one that they need. So for example, when we have blue here, then when we go to the next one, the blue loses its opacity, and we now see the white that is behind it. So I kind of had a feeling that they do this, and it turns out that yes, they indeed have this structure here. So yeah, I already got these images, I think. So if I go to Finder, yeah, I have all these. The only thing I did is I went to Pixelmator Pro and I adjusted the colors a little bit on the white one, just to make sure it works with a black theme. So of course we're gonna have dark mode on the website. So yeah, let's jump into Framer and let's try recreating this. So first of all, I'm gonna just paste in all these images. So let's open Finder and I'm gonna just drag and drop all of these. And when I'm trying to recreate these things, I'm always trying to think what's gonna be the mobile version. So I think, yeah, they are making the images a little bit smaller here. So this is probably too big for mobile. And to make it really easy to do that, I'm gonna turn these into components. So later I can just change the variant on the mobile viewport, and then it will be really easy. So what I do is I basically rename these to color 4, color 1, color 2, and color 3. And I can also work with one component because these are all the same sizes. But what I can also do is to turn each of them into a component. Of course, we want to save time, so I'm going to just work with one component. So what I do here is I basically wrap this base in a stack by pressing Option, Command, and Enter on my keyboard. So now, as you can see, this base is within a stack, and I can rename this to image. And I can also remove the fill color from this. And I'm just thinking about the structure that we have to use for this. because I want to make sure that when I resize this stack, it changes and scales responsively, and I want to keep the aspect ratio. So in order to do that, basically I come to the image stack and I lock this aspect ratio here. So whenever I try to resize this, it will nicely scale. And also it's really important that the inner image is also a locked aspect ratio, and it has a fill width, so it will always try to fill up the available space here. So now that we have this responsive basically structure, and I'm gonna have this 1580 width for this image stack. And at this point I can remove all these because I'm going to use just one component. So what I can do here is I'm gonna right click and create component, and this will be the image component. And so why this is great for us is because we can create desktop and we can also create mobile here. And maybe if we need a tablet, we can also do that later. So let's just resize it. We're gonna probably have something like this on mobile, and yeah. And here I'm gonna just place this here within our main desktop breakpoint. And it is really important to just quickly run through the structure that I have here. So it's just the basic setup, a desktop breakpoint, and then we have a main stack within that. It's a stack, direction is vertical, distributed start, gap is 0. Basically that's it. So within this, I'm gonna just first place a spacer section here. So spacer section to the top, 50 VH, so 50% of the given viewport will be the height. So yeah, okay, so now we have this image here, and if we change it to mobile, you see that it doesn't really change in size. It's because the width and height is fixed, so I'm gonna change that to fit. And now if I change it to mobile, it nicely scales down. So that's why it is really great that we are working with components, but I want to be able to, bring these images out to the properties panel so I can change it here. So what I'm doing here is that I go into the component and adding a little image variable here, which will be called image. And then we can duplicate this, and we can have, for example, color 1. And then I'm going to duplicate again. Here we're going to have color 2. We're going to have color 3. And color 4 as well. Okay, great. Now we have all the colors. We have a great component set up for the images. So now we can basically make these stacks that we see here in the browser, where in one platform we see 2 images. So I'm going to show it to you again, just so you understand what we're doing. I don't know where I am on this website, but yeah, here we are. As you can see, we have 2 pictures. One is a base color and one is a colored version. So let's jump back to Framer and do that. So basically what we need is we need to wrap these in a common stack. So let's wrap the black one in a stack. Option Command and Enter. This will be platform 1. And what I do is I will basically Command and X this color 1 and then paste it within the platform 1 stack. And here I'm just thinking what structure should we use, because we can also make both absolutely positioned, because these need to be on top of each other. We can either just absolutely position 1, so maybe the colored version, and then make sure that it sticks to the top and to the left maybe. And let me see what happens if I try to resize this Yeah, it doesn't really look great. Let me see. We have the black one here, so I'm gonna just rename this to black and colored. So black, I'm not sure what should we use here, because maybe we're gonna go with fixed for the platform and then just have fixed sizes for different breakpoints. That's a way we can go about this. So yeah, let's do that. Basically, I think we're done. We can change the opacity of the colored version. We can reveal the black one or hide the black one based on that. So I think that works perfectly. And I think when we load the website here, yeah, we see the colored version first. So we're gonna have that on. So now what we can do is we can duplicate this platform and we can remove these images from below, and we can have the black here because that's the same, but the colored version will change to color 2. Then, okay, this is platform 2. We are creating platform 3 as well. And this one has colored 3, and platform 4 has colored 4. Okay, that looks great. Now I need to make sure that these are kind of like overlapping each other, because these are not overlapping each other at the moment. However, as you can see on the website, they really need to overlap each other. So let's do that. Basically, of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap these in a common stack. So I'm going to select all of these, and then I'm going to press Option Command Enter on my keyboard. And then I also have a shortcut for making the width and height fit. That's Shift A. So as you can see now, the width and height is fitting the content within. We can change the gap to 0, but I think that's not gonna be really relevant for us, because we cannot, set negative gap, which is unfortunate. So what we need to do is we basically need to set all of these to absolute positioning, so we can adjust them a little bit more. So this will be platforms, and let's try setting all these to absolute. So now all of these are absolutely positioned, and I can move the first one to the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know how close that is. 12, 13, 14, 15. 15, okay. We have 110 from the top, as you can see. So we have to somehow figure out how much we have to move this up just to have even spacing. And I'm not sure if I can properly calculate that, but I think, yeah, that looks great. And okay, what I'm doing, I'm not sure. Platform 4 is gonna be here. Yeah, it looks great. And make sure that each of these have a top pin. Or no, I'm not good. Or maybe yes. Yeah, we can have the top pin, so it will always have that same space from the top. Because if that's the case, then I can just set these platforms to fixed height, and I can just change it to fit the content. Okay, this looks almost okay. I just have to change the layering, because now the last one is on top and the first one is at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically add Z index to these. So platform 1 will have a Z index set to 4. then the second one will have z index 3, this one will have z index 2, and this one is, it's already having z index 1. So as you can see, if I want something to be on top, I just have to set a higher z index on that. So yeah, pretty cool. As you can see, when we load the website, only the first one is colored, so all the rest can be black. So I'm going to select these colored versions here, and I will change the opacity to 0. Great, so now we have this nice stack here. As I can see right here, yes. As you can see, we have a little bit more space here between the first one and the second one. And then we have a little bit less space between these one here. So I'm gonna just do that. So I will make sure that these are a little bit to the top. So one, I'm not selecting the right layer. So platform 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that looks great. But as you can see, I'm trying to resize this, and the third platform is moving because probably the pin changed here. We need that top pin, so it always tries to maintain that space from the top. Okay, this looks great now. So we have a little bit more space between the first and the second platform, and then we have a little bit less. Cool. So now what we can do is we can basically think about how we want to do the text animation here. Because if I'm being honest with you, I don't really like it. I don't know, when it completely like disappears for a little second, that, I don't know, it's weird. Because then we have this nice enter animation on the text, but I just don't like how it disappears. So I'm just probably gonna have something else going on here. Maybe I'm gonna just change the opacity of the text, so fade out one and fade in another one. Yeah, but I'm gonna probably use components for this. So each title and each description will be a component with different variants. So I can just change the variants with scroll variants, trigger with scroll sections. So yeah, I'm gonna try do that. So let's go back to Framer, and I'm gonna just take a look at the size of this text. So I'm gonna go and inspect the website. And if I click this little icon here and hover over this, I can see the text. So it's 35 pixels. That's pretty weird that they placed all words into separate containers. Interesting. I'm not sure why they did that. I have no idea, but whatever. Or maybe it's because of the enter animation. But really, that's not important for us. So 35 here, and the text size here is 14. Great. So let's write here. Just have a text layer, and then let's say what our H2 is having. 36, that's almost like that, so we can keep that. And we also have a 14 probably, so description, and that's gonna be the base. Okay, so let's try to copy this. Before pasting it into Framer, I paste it into here to Raycast, and then copy it from there, and then we can go to Framer and paste it in here, just to make sure that we paste without any styling. So I'm just gonna add these little spaces here, and yeah, we have the first title. So title 1, and I'm gonna make sure that it is wrapped within a stack, titles, and this text layer within will have fill width, just to make sure that when we change the width of these titles, it nicely wraps into multiple lines because it's trying to fill up the available space. And I'm gonna turn it into a component, and I'm thinking, what should we have? Because we want to have a nice animation. So for that, we probably have to use different text layers for different titles. We can also just create a new variant and change the text here, so something else. However, if we animate between these, it's probably be an instant transition, even if we have this spring setting here and not the instant. So I'm gonna show it to you. So as you can see, it's instant. I'm gonna do 2 lines here so you can see it better. So it changes like this. There's no animation. However, if we have basically 2 text layers here, so title 2, and this one is set to absolute positioning, and we are pinning it to all sides, what's gonna happen is we can change the text here. I am not seeing what I'm writing, but whatever. So then we can change the opacity of the second title on the first variant, and then on the second we can change the first title to 0 opacity and the second title to 1 opacity. So what happens now is we probably have to add the interaction again so you can see what's going on. So if we have this approach, then we're gonna see a little bit, a little bit of a fade in and fade out animation with the text, which I think looks better. So yeah, we can do that. Okay, so let me just delete this variant and then create all these titles with different texts. So title 1 is great. Title 2 is okay, so basically this is the first title, so I have to copy this again to raycast and then here. So title 1, I'm gonna duplicate the title 1 because I don't want to paste that again, so I'm gonna set to absolute. Title, this will be title 2 then, and the title 1 has a different text. I'm gonna just paste it in here to the content property, and yeah, it looks great. I'm not sure what's happening here, why we don't see. So if I hide this, the first title, I'm not sure why we don't see the full second title, because the content is the same, but we only see 2 words. So let me change the height to fixed. Oh, I know why. Yeah, so you can see that I'm running into a problem here, because if we have a text absolutely positioned within this variant, and we also have a relatively positioned text layer, then the variant, if set to fit content, it will fit the relatively positioned text layer's height, which has only 2 words. So I'm going to show it to you. Title 1 is a relatively positioned, it has only 2 words, it is just 1 line, so it will fit this height. Even if the second title is a little bit longer, but it is set to absolute, so basically the variant doesn't really know about that one. So This might look like an issue, but it might not be an issue. So let me just take a look at this and confirm that we can do something. So if we do variant 2 and we are not only changing the opacity, but we are gonna also make sure that opacity is 0 on title 1, but we also turning it into an absolutely positioned frame and pinning it to the top and left, and then changing the title to relative, and then changing that opacity to 1. So now basically between variants we're gonna also change positioning and opacity, and let's see if that's gonna work for us in the animation as well. Yeah, it works. Okay, that's great. So again, remove the second variant and just create all these titles. So title 3 is gonna be this one. So pasting it into raycast first and then into framer. I'm trying to add some spaces. Yes, great. And let's say what is title 4. And paste that into here as well. So duplicate the title 3, rename it and have the proper content. I'm gonna add these spaces again. And we're good. So let's now create all the variants. So variant 2, here we change the relatively positioned frame to title 2. So title 1 will turn into absolutely positioned frame, or yeah, a layer. So it will also get these pins, and it will also get 0 opacity. Then title 2 will become relative, and then we change its opacity to 1. On the next variant, we're gonna have title 2 back on absolute. What we can also do is we can reset overrides on the second one, and then so it's now absolutely positioned and 0 opacity. It was weird, like it was 0 opacity, but we could see the text. But whatever, I'm gonna change it to 0 opacity, and then title 3 will be relative and 1 opacity. And something is wrong here because title 3 is not at its, it needs to be in the frame, and for some reason it's on the right. So I have to know why that is. There is probably another, like it looks like there's another relatively positioned frame within this, but there isn't. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna reset overrides on that one because I feel like that made some serious issues for us. So title 2, I'm gonna just set it back to absolute. I'm gonna give it this pin, change the opacity to 0, and then set title 3 to relative, and then opacity to 1. So now as you can see it works. I don't know, Framer sometimes can be weird, so that's it. So this one absolute, opacity 0, and then title 4 relative, because that's the active, and opacity 1. So now we have a titles component, and it has 4 variants with the different titles. That's really nice. So basically we have to do this for the description as well. However, what I'm thinking here is that I'm just gonna go through these layers, make sure that yes, we need this pin here as well, because if we don't have that, then it's not gonna fill up the available space of the container. And of course, these absolutely positioned frames that I'm adjusting right now, these are not visible, but I still want them to be, properly positioned even when they are visible, because if they're not, they can cause some issues when they become visible with animations. So we could see some weird jumping if we didn't set these. So yeah, I think that's great. We can, resize this even if we have variant 3. We can not resize this, so that's something that you have to check when you're working with something like this. So basically what this means is when we have variant 3 and we resize, the text doesn't adopt. So let's see why that is happening. Title 3. Yeah, so title 3 is set to relative, however its width is still fixed. As you can see on the first one, title 1 relative, but the width is fill. So meaning that on each variant, we have to make sure that the relatively positioned text layer is also with fill. So variant 2, title with fill. Variant 3, title 3 with fill. Variant 4, title 4 with fill. This is something that you just have to deal with. You just have to check it and then just fix the issue. Nothing crazy. So it works perfectly now. Great. So what I'm thinking is that we can probably just duplicate these titles component and then just replace the text and change the text style. Let's try that. So assets, titles, and duplicate this and rename it to description. And I'm gonna select all of these titles, or just rename these to description 1, description 2, description 3, description 4. Okay, the style will be base. And then we can just replace the content. So, it's gonna be not easy selecting all these texts. It's not easy to select these because as we saw in the inspect, these are wrapped in separate containers because of the enter animation that they have. But we're gonna try do this. Maybe I can ask AI to add spaces to this. So please add spaces to this text. Yeah, that's probably the easiest solution here. So now we have description 1 pasted in. And actually that's description 4, good to know. Then paste in for description 4. And then go back to the first one. Again, ask AI to do the same here. And then go to framer. This is description 1, so I'm gonna paste it in here. Description 2. AI, please help me. Thank you very much. And this is what? I'm losing track, guys. Get access, increase clients. Yes, that's the second one. And then we need the third one. And we're done, basically. Okay. Okay, so we have now a description component with 4 variants. Each variant has a different description. Let's take a look at how this animation would look. Perfect. Great. I'm going to remove the interaction and duplicate, or not even duplicate, I'm just going to bring in this description. And let's see if we have variant 3. it nicely resizes. So yeah, that's pretty nice. Okay, so now we have the title, we have the description. Let's take a look at what else we need. We also need the little line that divides the title and the description and also goes kind of into these platforms. I'm also not even sure if I like that, because I think it's supposed to be like, you know, as you can see here, it basically goes into the first platform, and then when we move the second platform up, it's supposed to be, you know, I don't know, it looks weird because it doesn't stop there, so I'm not sure if I like it, but we're gonna have this line there. So let's have the titles and description in a common stack. So Option Command Enter, Shift A to width fit and height fit, and then the gap will be 24. Alignment to the left. Selecting both, setting it to width fill. Works really nicely. So it's renamed to title plus description. And we probably have a bit more space, but we can just insert this line. And then this can have one height, fill width. And then we can have something like 6. Okay. So now if we wrap the platforms in the title in a common stack, Option Command Enter, I don't know what's the name, maybe platform plus title. Set it to width fill, height viewport, so 100 VH. Direction is horizontal, so they are right next to each other. And what I'm noticing here is that it's 570 here. And how big is this? 580. That's a bit bigger. So maybe we have to resize this to 570. So now everything is a bit smaller. But I'm not sure if that's a great thing, because now everything is a bit off. But it's weird because I don't know, it looks like the platforms are bigger here than they are here on this website. I'm gonna just also check this size here, so it's 1150. And how big is this? Yeah, I think we have kind of the same size, so that's not an issue. We can change it back to 580 here, just so we don't have to mess with the positioning anymore. Maybe we can have a little bit less space between these, so I think that's what we can do. So 1, 2, and then 1, 2. Okay. That maybe looks better. Okay, so the gap rule will be 24 and maybe a bit more. And also what I'm noticing is that for this website, we probably need a bigger desktop breakpoint just to make sure it breathes a bit more. So I'm gonna have desktop LG as well here. So desktop large, 1440, and then add the regular desktop breakpoint as well, and move these to this position, and this would be desktop medium. Okay, so now we have a bit more space here. Okay, so right now I'm thinking if we should do the little line that comes out to this part. We can actually do that. easily. So we can set this, we can wrap the line into a stack, line wrapper. Then we can set it to end, so it basically being aligned to the right side. And now if I change it to 1.5 FR, that means that now this line is bigger. We cannot see it. I don't know why we cannot see it, because here we should see the line, but we don't see it. I'm going to set the overflow to visible, and also here. And we still don't see it, so that's an issue. Maybe then just have 1 FR, maybe if we set it to fixed and increase it, now it works. 1.5 FR also should be working just fine, because it basically means 150%, but it didn't work for some reason. Let me just try to do it again. I don't know, it's weird. Maybe it doesn't work because it only works if we have more elements. But I remember that it worked. But whatever. We can just have 150% or something a little bit less. So let's just have this size here. And as you can see, when we land on this website, the line goes into the first platform. So we have to deal with that as well. How am I gonna do that? Yeah, I think honestly I'm not gonna deal with matching this line into the platforms. It's just gonna be such a big headache, and it's hard to keep it responsive with that behavior. So just have this line like that. It's much better that way, much easier, I should say. Okay, so we now have the platforms and we have the text as well, and we can start, I think, animating this. So we can start setting up a structure for the animation. We can think about that. So as you can see, we start basically scrolling down this page, but when we reach this section, everything stops and only the platforms are moving and the text is changing. So this is basically achieved with sticky positioning. So this platforms plus title has to be positioned sticky. And the way I'm going to achieve that is first I'm going to wrap this into another frame, or a stack. Option Command and Enter. This will be the sticky container, or not the sticky container. Let's add another name, because I don't like using sticky container, because you might think that okay, now this container will be set to sticky, but no, it's not going to be set to sticky. So this will be just the platforms anim, because this stack is set to fill. Platform within is also set to fill, that's important. And the height here will be something like 5,000, so it's a bit bigger. Now you can see that this jumped to the center. It's because it's set to center, so we just had to set the platform anim to distribute start, vertical direction, and I can set the main now to fit content, and then add the spacer to the bottom as well, which will be 100 VH here. So now we have this long page. But what I want to do is, as I scroll down here, this section stays in our viewport. So to do that, I'm gonna now set this platform plus title to sticky. As you can see, when we set a frame that has 100 VH to sticky, it's for some reason changes to 16 VH or something like that. So we have to set it back to 100. Great. So if you take a look at this, it doesn't work, of course, because in order for sticky to work, we have to set all parent frames to overflow visible. So if I do that, it works. And basically it stays sticky until we reach the end of its parent container, which is the container that we named platform animation. So basically the length of the stickiness is determined by the parent frame's height, which is 5000 pixels here. So for 5000 pixels, I can just scroll, 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 and it will stay sticky. And it's great for us because now we can use scroll triggers with scroll sections and just, you know, animate these platforms and the texts. So let's do that. As I can see here on the website, I don't know, like I've been looking on this website for a couple times, but I just can't figure out like a logical structure that they use. Like I feel like these layers are moving a bit randomly. So here when we enter, everything moves up a bit, then only the first and second moves up, and then again everything moves, and then again everything, I think the top one is also moving, but the second and third one starts moving faster, and then everything moves again, and then the third and fourth one starts moving faster. I don't know, it's weird. So maybe what I'm gonna use is I'm gonna just what I'm gonna do, we can start by moving the first one and the last one at the same pace to the top, and then we can move the second and the third one, and then the third one and the fourth one, and then we will add the animation that moves everything to the top separately. So let's start by creating some trigger frames. So as you can see, as we scroll down here, we have an animation starting right here. And basically I just want to see when the text changes. Okay. So the text changes when we see the second platform in a completely changed color. And the color change of the first platform and the color change of the second platform is happening at the same time. So as the first platform gets whiter and as the first platform gets whiter, the second platform also gets bluer. So that happens at the same time. Basically, that means for us that we need to use the same scroll section for that. And yeah, basically we can use the same scroll section for the text as well. We just have to make sure that the viewport will be switched, but we're going to see that. So yeah, I just wanted to take a look at this to make sure that, okay, how many scroll sections we need. Maybe this animation is broken up to multiple, phases, but it's not. So we can just work with one scroll section for one phase. So this will be scroll 1. As you can see, I'm just adding a frame here to the platform animation, and it is placed below the platform plus title. We can set, I don't know, basically I'm just thinking of the height of this scroll trigger, because the length of this frame will basically determine the length of our animation. So I'm just, looking at this, and it's gonna probably be around 400 pixels. We can remove the fill color so it doesn't distract us, but I'm just gonna change the opacity so you can see that even though our little main section here is sticky, this trigger frame scrolls away. and that's why we can use it as a scroll trigger. So I'm gonna still just keep it colored, just so you can see what's happening. But then we can just easily hide those. So first thing that we do is we basically add a scroll section to this container. So scroll section, scroll one, and then we can add the effects to the platforms. So first of all, the first and second platforms moves to the top. So let's do that. I'm gonna add effect, scroll transform. Section in view will be the trigger, as we said, and I think we can stay at the bottom of the viewport. Well, maybe we will switch that. So yeah, section in one is the trigger. The from state is 1 opacity 1 scale, so we are animating from this state, and 2. Well, the 2 state will be basically just an offset, a Y offset, so we will move them to the top. As you can see, we are already seeing a little problem here because it's being cut off at the top, but we're gonna fix that really quickly. So I'm just gonna leave it like this, and then go to platforms and set the overflow to visible. So overflowing parts will be now visible. So if I go back to scroll and the 2 state, you'll see that now it's perfect. So, I'm just thinking how much we should move these to the top. Maybe 45 pixels is great. So now if we reach this part and, the scroll trigger starts entering our viewport, these 2 platforms are moving to the top, which is really nice. What I also can add to this scroll transform is this transition, just to make sure it's a bit, smoother. Perfect. So, okay, now they're moving to the top, but we also have to change the colors. So for that, I'm gonna go within these platforms. And so, okay, what we wanna do. On the first one, I think we wanna hide the colored one, and on the second platform we want to show the colored one. So first platform, colored, effects, scroll transform, section in view, bottom, scroll one, from state is 1 opacity 1 scale, and add the transition, and the opacity is 0. So the 2 state is 0, so as it moves up, it also loses its opacity and basically reveals the black platform that is below it. So here on platform 2, we do the opposite. We add the scroll transform, section in view as a trigger, from state 1 opacity 1 scale, and then here it's gonna be it's gonna be 1 opacity here, and the from state will be 0 opacity. Because first we don't see it then, but we then see it. It doesn't work because the starting state here is opacity 0, so we have to set opacity 1 here on the layers panel, but we don't have to worry because when we load the website, as you can see, it's not visible because we have the scroll transform, which has the from state, opacity 0, and then we move into the 2 state, which is opacity 1. So basically we have this now, which is perfect. I love it. So now a really interesting thing will happen because I have to figure out how we are handling the text switching. I was talking about maybe we will use a different viewport setting, but no, that's not the case. I just realized we have to create a little tiny scroll section here. So I'm gonna duplicate the scroll section 1 and gonna call this variant switch 1. Variant switch 1, variant 1. And then this will be just a tiny section. It can be only 1 pixels. when we are using scroll variants, the length of the scroll section doesn't matter that we are triggering the scroll variant with, because it will be, you know, the animation will be according to the component's transition settings. So basically this that we can see right here. So the animation will happen according to this. However, when it comes to scroll transform, as you can see, the length of the scroll section determines the length of the animation. So as you can see, as I'm scrolling here, these platforms move to the top and they end the transition when we reach the end of this trigger frame. But here, where we are switching variants, it doesn't matter, it can be just 1 pixel. So let's just select these titles, add effect, scroll variant, and then section in view, bottom of this section, replay. Yes, we want to replay this, so when we scroll down and back, we want to replay the animation. Section from okay, yeah, section is variant 1, sorry, and we want to switch to, for some reason we cannot select the variant here because both of these are selected, so let's just go to the first one, set variant 2 and set variant 2 here as well. Let's take a look at this. So, oh god, it's perfect. Wow. I'm a bit impressed with this because I said that I don't like the animation that they have here because it, you know, it disappears for a second. But this one is, it's much better, guys. Okay. I'm actually happy to see this. And basically now what we have to do is just to repeat these steps for the rest of the platforms and the rest of the text switches as well. And then we also have to think about how are we gonna optimize this for mobile, because it doesn't look really great here. Okay, so when this is done, what we need to do is we need to keep the top platform, so the first platform, where it is at the moment, and then we have to move the second and the third one. Let's try that. So I'm gonna duplicate this scroll section and then call it scroll 2. Scroll section will be renamed as well. And at this point, I might remove these colors, but I just want to keep them just so you can see what's going on. And we're going to have variant switch 2 as well, which is variant 2. Great. So now I can go here. I can select the platform 2. And now you'll see how we can add multiple scroll transforms, because we already added one here. Or we can just add another section. And this will be scroll 2, and the 2 effect will be, I'm actually thinking how this works. Yeah, we just have to add another minus 45, so in total it's gonna be minus 90. And then we have to basically add, we can just copy this effect from the first one and paste it here. Paste effects. So platform 3 will be animated to the top a little bit. Let's see how that works. Yeah, that works not great because we did not switch the section. So this only needs to happen when we reach the second scroll section. So at the first scroll section, first and second moves, and then at the second scroll section, the second and third moves. We also have to add the color changes, so platform 3. Here the colored needs to be oops, that's AI, sorry. So opacity 1 will be the starting state, but we are of course adding the scroll transform because actually the starting state will not be opacity 1. but I think you remember that we can set it to opacity 0 here on the from state, and then we can add opacity 1 on the to state. Transition is applied, and yeah, very good. And then on platform 2, the colored version needs to go back from opacity 1 to opacity 0 when we are scrolling through the second section, not to, but through. So opacity 0 here. Let's take a look. First one works, second one works. Great. And you can see that as these scroll sections come into the view, these animations are happening. So I think it's quite useful that we have little colors on them. Let's also do the variant switch. So variant, add section, variant 2, and we're going to switch to the next text here, and we're going to do the same here. Variant 2, next. Let's take a look at this. As you can see, it works perfectly. So when we move these two to the top, then we change text, and then when we move the second and the third platform, the text changes again. So we can do this for the next platforms as well. So basically what we need to do now is I'm going to go back to the original to see. So now we need to move, we need to move the third one and the fourth one. So we need to add new scroll sections. So scroll 3, and variant switch 3. And I'm going to change the color. Okay, so platform 3 is moving to the top. So add section, scroll 3, and the to state is another minus 45. So that basically means that in total it's going to be minus 90. And platform 4, scroll effect, scroll transform, section in view, and the section will be scroll 3. We're going to go from opacity 1, scale 1 to minus 45. And we're going to add the transition. So let's take a look at this. Okay, they move really nicely. We have to make sure that they change the platform colors as well. So platform 3, we are going to go from basically showing the colored version to hiding it. So scroll 3, opacity 0. And then on platform 4, we're going to make sure that we have an effect, scroll transform, scroll section in view as a trigger, scroll 3 as the section. The from state will be opacity 0 and scale 1, because first we just see a black platform and then we want to show it. So add the transition as well and take a look at this. And it works perfectly. Ooh, look at this, how I scroll through it. Looks really nice. Great. So also add the last text switch thing. So it's already here. So add the effect here to the title. So when we reach variant 3, we switch to the last text basically. Basically the same happens here on the description. When we reach variant 3 section, we switch to the last description. And now, as you can see, it's perfect. Great. So at this point, we can basically select all these scroll triggers and we can just hide them by setting opacity to 0. And what I also usually do is I set pointer evens to none, just to make sure that they don't prevent us from interacting with interactive elements, because if they move, you know, above something, maybe a button, then we cannot interact with the button. Just to make sure that doesn't happen, we set pointer evens to none. So now without the scroll sections, or without seeing the scroll sections, it looks like this, which is pretty great. However, as you can see, when we end the animation, we still can scroll for quite a bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the platform animation and set its height to fit content, so it fits these scroll sections. So now when we end the animation, we also end the stickiness of this section. Maybe we can also add the last effect. So as you can see, not only two platforms move at the same time when we are looking at this animation, but all four moves at a certain point, but then they stop. So it's weird, but we're gonna add that effect here as well. So I'm just gonna go to platforms. So this frame basically houses all the platforms, and we're gonna add a scroll transform to this, which basically moves them a little bit to the top as we scroll through this whole platform animation section. For that, I need to add a scroll section to this as well. So maybe whole animation. I'm not sure if that's the right name, but that's not really important actually. So effects on the platforms and section in view. Well, I'm thinking if we should have bottom of the section, but maybe we will have top of the section, so, or the top of the viewport, and whole animation, 1 opacity, 1 scale, and then we just have a slight offset to the top, maybe -20, and also apply the transition. So let's take a look at this. It's so small that we cannot even see it, so maybe we have something more, so it is actually visible. I think we're not going to have -100, but let's just take a look at that. Yeah, actually it's not even that visible actually. But you know, here when I'm scrolling here, you can see it a little bit that it's moving still. But I don't know, I think we can also keep that -100 offset on the complete platform stack that houses all the platforms. It's not that bad actually. Great. So now this animation works on desktop. Let's take a look at this breakpoint. It works here as well. Let's take a look at tablet. And on tablet we see some issues. So let's fix those. So first of all, I'm gonna just make sure that, I mean, this can be fixed, and then maybe here we can just change the width of this. But as you can see, that's not really the solution. We can also do this. So let's take a look at this. Okay, so basically what happens is it would be actually great, but the thing is that when we switch texts and the height of the text stack is it's becoming larger, the platforms also jump a bit to the top, because the text takes away space from it. So that's the only thing that is not great about this, but we can fix that really easily. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this title plus description here to height fixed, and it's gonna be something like this. Yeah, it works. Okay, that's perfect, because now the title plus description is set to height fixed, so basically it will always stay this size, it will not fit the content within. So even if we change the title to variant 2, which is larger, you know, the text, the title plus description stack is basically staying the same height and not taking away, you know, more space from the platform stack. So the platform stack can actually stay at its position. Okay, so now, as you remember, I made these little variants here, so I thought that I can just change the variants, it's gonna be easy. But the problem is that, for example, even if I just show it right here, if I select all these and change them to mobile, this happens. So it's not really great. If we take a look at this, as you can see, this is not cool because they need to be exactly on top of each other. So there is some positioning problems that we have here, which is, you know, not really a problem because it works, but we cannot just easily switch the variants because they will be placed on the canvas differently. So I'm just thinking what we can do in order to prevent that from happening. So we have this platform that houses the black and the colored component. If I change the colored component to mobile, as you can see, it jumps to the left and gets smaller because it's pinned to the left and to the top. And that's why it's, you know, it's trying to keep that 0 distance from the left and from the top. If I change the black, however, to mobile, as you can see, it jumps to the middle or the center of the platform stack. And that's because it is set to relative positioning, meaning that the properties of the stack controls where it is. And as you can see, it is set to distribute center, meaning that it will always try to be at the center. If we set this to start, now they are at the correct position. Basically, that's it. That's what we have to do. We have to change the distribute to start on each of these stacks. So let's change these back, and platforms are selected and distribute is set to start. So now we will be able to easily switch the direction here on mobile as well. Select all of these components within the platforms and set those to mobile. Right now they're jumping into the correct position. We can now change these platforms width to this. And we can also make sure we are in the center of the screen. To do that, we can just set these platforms to fixed. Holy hell, what's happening? Yeah. We have this right pin. I'm gonna deactivate that. Platforms. Now we can change this. So this works really well, maybe 350. And we can also change the height. And I think it looks great. Maybe we will be changing some of the offset values. But I'm gonna just first do the same thing with the text that we did with on the tablet breakpoint. So the height here will be 330 pixels. Or maybe a little bit smaller. I'm not sure how big the text is gonna be here. Yeah, I think that's great. You know, just to make sure that it really doesn't clip, we can just make sure that the overflow is visible, but that's already visible, so that's pretty great. So now here, maybe we can have a little bit less space between these, because in mobile we're not gonna have too much space to play with. So now we have this on mobile. As you can see, it's getting on top of the nav bar, but it's because I always forget to change it to the index to it, so about everything. So now if we take a look at this, I mean, it's not bad, but the thing that I don't like is that it goes outside of our viewport when we reach the end. So maybe we can remove this animation from the complete platform stack. So let me just remove this and set it to 0. So now I'm gonna take another quick look at this phone breakpoint. Okay, so just a little thing that I notice is that when I make this you know, really small, it crops here. It's because, which probably, you know, it's not gonna happen because people usually don't have those small devices, but we're gonna have overflow visible on the platform plus title, and on platform animation it's already visible there, so it's perfect. So now if I make it small, nothing clips. So yeah, it's great, but actually you know, I just feel like these, you know, spaces between these platforms needs to be smaller. So let me just do that really quickly. I'm going to select all of these platforms here and then move them to the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's much better. You can change this. So now we just changed the initial positioning. We did not change the scroll transforms offset value, but let's take a look at this now. So yeah, I think because we have smaller gaps here at the start, we can also have you know, a little bit less moving around on these platforms. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of moving them -45 each time, I'm gonna move them, let's say I'm gonna move them -20. So platform 1 to -20, platform 2 -20, and then here it's gonna be -40 because we move another 40 to the top. But why did I write -20 when I said -40? Whatever. So on platform 3, the 2 is -20, and on the next one it's -40, and the same here, -20. So let's take a look at this. As you can see, now we move a little bit less here, which works really nicely. So of course it looks great here in Framer, but I'm gonna also take a look at this on my phone. So I'm gonna just publish this website, and I'm gonna open it here so you can see it. I'm gonna copy this URL and then open it on my website, and let's take a look at how it works. Actually, it's so the problem is it looks great on mobile sometimes, but if I scroll like really fast, I'm gonna move to my camera, but I'm not gonna be able to talk because my microphone is here, but maybe I can move my microphone there. So as you can see, let me just show it to you. So I hope it's in focus. So if I scroll down, you know, sometimes the text switches nicely, but sometimes there's like a huge jump. Maybe if I scroll a little bit faster. Did you see that? Yeah, I just don't understand why that happens. But you know, when you are developing websites, this is something that happens and you have to deal with it. So we're gonna go and try to fix that. I'm gonna go here onto the mobile breakpoint, and an idea that I have is that I could switch the distribute here to end, and I could also set the primary variant to bottom alignment and the description to bottom alignment as well. Let's take a look at this one here. So now when we are switching texts, it will not be, you know, sticking to the center of its parent container, but it will kind of like grow in and move from the bottom, as you can see. So I'm going to publish the website and reload it on my mobile device. So let's take a look at this. And the problem is that the jumping around is still happening. So, you know, it's still there. And at this point, I think that it's because as you can see, we are changing not only the opacities here in the component, but we also change the positioning. So here it's title 1 is relative, and all the rest of these layers are absolutely positioned. And I think that this might be causing the issue, because here we change the title 1 to absolute positioning, and then changing the second one to relative. So this might be something that's causing the issue. So of course we could just have everything absolute positioned. We cannot have everything relatively positioned because that's not because then you know, everything will be taking up space, and we cannot show them a video transition, because if they are relative, everything is relative, then we can have visibility set to no, or visible set to no or yes. But then again, the problem will be that the text will switch instantly, and it will not have a nice transition, a fade in, fade out that we have at the moment. But maybe that's the thing that we will have to do eventually. And as you can see, it's weird, because here in Framework Preview it works well, but for some reason when you visit it on mobile, it just jumps around, and that's why it's really important to always check it on your device, because maybe something is not working correctly. And right now what I just do is I'm just scrolling through the website back and forth, and just trying to like think about what's the issue. But you know, it's probably the thing that we do with the variants, that we just change these to absolute and then back to relative. So we will try to go with the instant transition then. So I'm gonna select all of these and set it back to relative. And then also make sure that this has vertical direction, so they are placed right below each other. And instead of changing opacity to 0, we're going to change it back to 1. And I'm going to do the same here, so everything needs to be... I'm going to actually just delete these and go from here. So on variant 1, we have visible no on title 2, 3, and 4. So we only show variant 1. On variant 2, we have visible no on title 1, and title 2 will be visible. And basically I do the same for the rest of the variants. So let's see. I'm gonna do the same thing here with the description. So I'm gonna delete these and then set everything to relative. Set them to vertical direction. Opacity will be 1. Here as well, and then on the first one we only show the first text, and then do the same. I really hope that I don't have to reapply the variants now that I removed them on the scroll variants, but that's probably the case. So I have to go here and just take a look at the scroll variant. Yes, we have to set them again because we removed them and then added them back. And now it doesn't know what's happening. So just to show you the different effect that we have now. Okay, it doesn't look really great. It seems like they are having fixed width. So let's set everything to fill. And in the description as well. All text layers with fill. So the updated effect that we have looks like this. And I really do hope that now this will be great on mobile. Okay. And the thing is that actually it still jumps around like crazy. So now what I'm thinking that maybe because we are changing the height of these components, that's why it's like jumping around like crazy. But you know, that's something that we cannot really fix because, you know, these titles will have maybe 3 lines, 2 lines, depending on their content. Same for the description. So we cannot really make sure that these always have the same height. So yeah, if we really want to optimize this for mobile, and we, you know, probably want to optimize this for mobile, then we should basically opt for a different solution for these texts. So I don't know if I want to make the video any longer, but I think I'm just going to do it. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video like in this format because here now you can see that when I'm running into these issues, I have to fix them. And maybe you have to, you know, opt for a different solution because it doesn't work well on mobile for some reason. You know, Framework can also have its weird things. So yeah, maybe what we can do here is instead of going with components for the different titles, we can have each title and description in these frames here, so multiple stacks, and then we can just show and hide them with scroll transforms. Okay, so the trick that I'm gonna do here is basically I'm gonna move these here, and just to make sure that we can quickly get all titles and descriptions, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the component variants here to variant 2, and then variant 2 here as well. Height will be fit content on these, so title and description, fit content, and then duplicate it, change it to variant 3, variant 3 here as well, and variant 4, and variant 4. So basically I'm just gonna name them 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now what I can do is I can wrap these in a common stack, Option, Command and Enter, remove fail color, and call these texts. So now what I want here is to have every single one of these right above each other. So I'm gonna select all of them, set absolute positioning, and make sure that they are right on top of each other. I just pressed Option H and Option V, which basically aligns them horizontally and vertically as well. Now I can just move them here, and let me just select all of them, and yeah, their position is great. And I can set the text stack to a little bit smaller size. And the overflow will be visible here just to make sure that if for some reason these are overflowing, they will be still visible. So now I can grab these texts and place it back here. Okay, so now as you can see, it looks really weird because we can see all the text layers at the same time. So in order to fix this, we are going to apply scroll transforms to these. So I'm just thinking which sections we should use. I think we can use the variant switches. We can just make them a little bit longer because now we are using scroll transforms, and as I explained it earlier, if you are using scroll transforms, we have to, make sure that the length of the section determines the length of the transform. So in this case, it's gonna be around 100, but we can adjust this later. So what I do is basically, first of all, I show the first layer. So the thing that I have to apply to this is a scroll transform. So section in view is the trigger, variant 1. I'm not gonna rename it. It's gonna stay variant. Okay, I'm just gonna rename this. I will also, offer this as a remix, and I want it to be really clear. So text switch 1, text switch 2, and text switch 3, and rename the scroll sections as well. So now it's pretty clear what is going on here. So we are having text switch 1. We are going from 1 opacity, 1 scale to 0 opacity because we're going to hide that when we reach text switch 1. Also, when we reach text switch 1, another transform will be happening on the second text switch 1. We are going to go from 0 opacity and 1 scale to 1 opacity and 1 scale. On the third one, we are applying a scroll transform, which will be a section in view. So when the second text switch comes into the view, we are going from 0 opacity 1 scale to 1 opacity and 1 scale. And I don't know if also when on the second text, when we reach text switch 2, we have to go to 0 opacity. Here, when we reach text switch 3, we have to go to 0 opacity. And on the fourth one, I really hope that I'm applying this the correct way, but maybe I'm not. Usually I have to take a look and then maybe come back if I messed up something. The fourth text is, it's coming in when we reach the third text switch, I guess. From 0 opacity to 1 opacity. Let's take a look at this. Okay. A little issue is that these components still have the scroll variants. So let's remove those. Okay. Let's take a look at this now. So, okay, this is great. This is great. And this is great as well. I'm so happy. So I think it's great here. It's great here. The thing that I have to do on mobile is that the text needs to be a little bit smaller like this. And the height can be increased. And the gap here can be slightly bigger. So this is what we're gonna see in theory on mobile. I really do hope that it's gonna work. Okay, it works. So I'm gonna show it to you real quick. So let me bring my microphone with me and show it to you personally. We are focusing on my phone, and as I scroll down on this page, it works perfectly even if I scroll really fast. So perfect. So as you can see, I had a couple of issues with this project, but it's normal when you are developing websites. Even if it's with code, even if it's with no code, you will always have these small problems or big problems. But you have to find a way to fix them. Maybe you have to test multiple solutions. You have to explore different ways of creating the same thing. But that is how it is. And I wanted to show you my process of doing just that. So I really hope that you learned something from this video. The remix link will be in the description. If you want to learn more, you can go to Framer University. I have a bunch of free resources that will help you learn Framer. And yeah, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.